Hi guys.
Hi, everyone.
Did you retweet it?
I'm retweeting it right now.
So, we've had our own sort of discussions starting at home about how this is going to develop, the situation we find ourselves in. Um, I think it's important to communicate to everybody sort of where we see it going and how we expect things to sort of roll out. To start with, on the discrimination side of things, we're already seeing a lot of discrimination starting to begin now. We all know about the social media bans, but beyond that, you look at, say, Kurt Schilling today. He's a star baseball player. If you don't remember him, he was famously known for the bloody sock game when he played for the Boston Red Sox in the World Series. And that made him sort of legendary in the baseball world. He was already known as an amazing pitcher, but then that happened. So he's turned into something of a pariah in the media since he retired from baseball because he committed the crime of being an outspoken Republican. And so he had his insurance policies canceled by AIG for the crime of being an outspoken Republican on social media. We're crossing lines that we had not ever crossed before now. And I think people need to go through a thought process of sort of looking through their own life and how they could be affected by this sort of discrimination, because we are going to see more and more of it. I'm not going to say there's going to be a wide sweeping, crazy thing to everybody, but we have to go through the thought process, because the only way to ensure that you're not affected by it is to protect yourself against it. Mm-hmm. So, Landon had some really great ideas about, like, say, if you're on Google, okay? If you're on Google and you use Gmail, now is a good time to do what?
Get rid of your Gmail, get rid of Chrome. Basically, we need to assume at this point that any free medium, any free social media, that there are no protections in place for you as a consumer because it's free.
Well, it's sort of like socialism. It's not really free.
Yeah, exactly.
So they call it free,
right? They're essentially renting you for your data, so it's not really a free transaction. But I'm targeting these companies specifically that are offering free services. We need to assume now that they have the unfettered capability of doing whatever they want with the power that they have. So it really is irrelevant if we want to bicker back and forth of what power they will use. The fact that they have the power and have shown us that they're willing to do it in an un-American way, in a bigoted, discriminatory way, shows us everything we need to know. Just like when you meet somebody, when they show you their character, you know everything you need to know. You don't need to pursue the friendship or the relationship or the business relationship any further, correct? So we also need to be what we say we are. Like, our actions need to line up. If people are discriminating against other people, can you imagine, in light of the BLM and the race riots this year, I mean, can you imagine for a moment if these big tech, everything that they were doing was against minorities?
If what they were doing to Republicans right now was being done to minority groups.
And every single person right now defending this, saying it's a private company, go to another company. And then you have them conspiring together to disenfranchise these smaller companies.
Yep.
And structurally, this groundwork has been a long-term strategy. They've already thought this through. So once you try to go, do your new company like Parler and Gab, oh wait, the servers are down. They're attacking the hosting. They're doing it's way beyond cancel culture. They are doing targeted discrimination. And you're not protected because, once again, it's the Wild West. In a technocracy, they run everything. They don't need our levers of power in the government because they don't prescribe to the same rules. There is no constitution for a technocracy.
Well, here's the other thing, too, is part of what's happening right now, people need to have their eyes open to the fact that this is not just about losing access to an email service or to a social media website. This is the beginning of a sort of corporatist technocracy fused with a new far left administration version of a social credit system, which is what they do in China. And it's essentially, so say you're applying for a job and they ask you for your social media and you say, I don't have social media. And they say, why do you not have social media? And you say, I just don't have it. I don't think I need it. But in reality, you were banned. And they find out you were banned from social media. Or if you just tell them I was banned from social media, these are things that will affect your livelihood just in terms of how you're socially perceived. You know, if your kid goes to school and you have to have Facebook for your second graders class,
Mhm.
and you have to tell the teacher, I don't have Facebook, I can't get the homework from the Facebook page. And they say, well, can you make a Facebook page? And you have to say, no, I can't. Facebook won't allow us to have a page at our house because we've been banned. And so they
Mhm.
banned by IP address
Or
too.
our
So
internet provider won't provide to our area because we've been outspoken Trump supporters.
yeah,
You know, which by any future means will be, oh, you were terrorist supporters. You were,
which they're
you
already
know,
starting to try to do now. You know, Paul Sperry reported that there's 2 Democrat House members who are writing a bill right now to call MAGA rallies a domestic terrorist activity.
Mhm.
So you have to actually reasonably understand that there's a segment of the left. It's not the whole entire side, but there's a segment, and it's large, that they truly believe this stuff. They believe that everybody's a terrorist who supported President Trump. So you have to sort of at this point do your own sort of life review in terms of how connected and how reliant you are on big tech and on corporate woke companies.
Right.
Okay, if you're reliant on corporate woke companies, or you're reliant on any of these, you know, technology companies that are super woke leftists, we need to find ways to sort of extricate them from our lives and replace them with things that are not toxic, that are not going to seek out to destroy people on our side. And even if they don't come after me, okay, because I'm one of those people, I try to be very rational about this. Even if they don't come after me, the fact they're coming after my friends and people who just have had the crime of having similar ideology to mine, you know, that's enough for me to say, you know what, I'm walking away from this. I mean, for goodness sakes, they just suspended Ron Paul from Facebook. I mean, like the most
For
harmless guy
absolutely
you could
no
possibly
reason
come up with.
at all.
I mean, I don't.
There's no they're doing this. You can't, they're attacking free speech altogether. And here's the interesting thing, is the same people that are always talking about equality and the disenfranchisement of the minorities and trying to equal the playing field and provide internet access to low income households, right? They're trying to level the playing field. They're admitting that the modern, you know, town square, and that our entire modern economic system is dependent on technology, on the technocracy. And is it right that we did it this way and structured it this way and we capitulated essentially? No, it's not. But that's minutia at this point. We don't have time to morally argue whether, you know, how complicit we were, because we can't change it now. All we can do is change things going forward, and warn people so that they can do what they need to do to protect themselves and their businesses. So the reality, and there's no exaggeration needed because the facts back this up, that this is happening. You know, I want to ask you, could your business survive if big tech, any of it, decided to, you know, be done with their Gmail? Say you had your long-term customer database through Gmail or GoDaddy or wherever it is. If these companies just wanted to unperson you, to cancel you, they can do that.
Yeah.
And that's what people have to start paying attention to, because this is a economic attack on individuals, on people.
Yeah.
And if this was again, I would like for everybody on the left, the defending this, to think if these were minorities, because discrimination is discrimination.
Yeah.
Any other group of people, if these were disabled people they were targeting, if these were people that had darker skin, okay, you would be up in arms over it. You would be so upset. You'd be rioting. You'd be doing whatever, you know, that we've already seen done over these racial injustices. But because it's people that, you know, you're ideologically opposed to, it's now morally okay. You know, there's no consistency whatsoever. We know in any context it wouldn't be okay and it would be discriminatory. And yes, small businesses can do what they'd like to do, the baker and the cake and all of that. But what happened here is that big tech became a public utility, and they were getting the benefits of being both a publisher and a platform. Nobody stopped it. And that's something that we have to account for on our side, that nobody stopped it. But essentially they have had so much power. And this is where even the phone companies, when phone companies started out, somebody at one point said, hey, this is now becoming mass communication, a matter of safety, a matter of equal access to communication, information. You need a phone to run a business, right? It's a public utility. At some point, they made phones a public utility because your success, your ability to provide for your family depended upon you having a phone. Do you know any businesses that can survive without a phone?
So I hear some people on the left,
some
people on the left are making this argument that it's just capitalism. This is just capitalism, and this is how it works. If they don't want you there, go make your own. And the reality is, this is not capitalism. Actually, what's happening right now is monopolistic, and so there's two things here you have to understand. Number one, what she said about phone companies. I want you to imagine that you're calling your friend. Okay, let's say your friend's name is John. You say, "Hey, John, I really think that President Trump is," and you go off. Okay. Imagine the phone company coming in and them saying, "You know what, this opinion's not allowed on our network, and you are not going to be allowed to make phone calls for a week. You've been suspended for a week. And if you do it again, you're going to be banned from the phone service forever." That's insane. It's just as insane when you do it with social media, because the tech companies were given protection under Section 230. You can't be a publisher and a platform. You got to pick one. And they can't be exempt from being sued if they're behaving as both, which is essentially what they're doing now, because they're definitely acting as a publisher now. Now, beyond that, you go into sort of the antitrust stuff, because all of these tech companies are clearly conspiring together. You can see it in the ban actions they've taken in the last month, where they've all banned people within 48 hours of each other. Even if it didn't occur on their platform or any of that, they've all uniformly taken out the same people, same time. Beyond that, you look at the way that they treated Parler. So what did Republicans do when they were told, "Go make your own"? They made their own. And what did they do to Parler? They all crushed them. First, Google took them out of the App Store, then Apple took them out of the App Store, and then their servers were taken away. Okay. And then the tech companies started going after some of their other vendors that they used, and essentially told those vendors that they had to get rid of them. And those vendors got rid of their accounts with Parler because they were worried about their relationship with the big tech companies. That is not capitalism.
That's sabotage.
They're sabotaging another business on
targeting
purpose,
individuals,
in a targeted way.
targeting and sabotaging other people and businesses. This is, these people, and they're so morally inconsistent, because every single person on the left here that's, in the chat or whatever, they would be up in arms again, like I said, if this was discrimination against minorities. They would be saying, "Oh, this is so discriminatory. You guys are bigots. How dare you? I'm banning Twitter." And then what would you be saying if we said to you, "Well, it's a private business. They can do what they want. They can be bigots. They can be hateful." This is the problem. Also, society now, it's structured. I've brought this up so many times. Let's pretend these minorities. Okay, let's pretend that's the situation. These minorities now no longer have access to their police department. In real time, weather alerts, all of these things that people use to protect themselves. When we escaped the Woolsey fires in California, we depended upon real live updates from the fire department. When you start having fire departments, news outlets, emergency services on Twitter, and that is where they're communicating from, that now becomes a public utility. Now, we can't change the fact that nobody was able to get this done lawfully. And we also can't change the morality, because people can do what they want. But we get to take the proper precautions and use our free speech before they shut that down. Again,
so
the sabotage.
This is why we're telling you guys to look at your own life and start to move things over. If you have an account at GoDaddy, guess what? GoDaddy hates Republicans. Okay, they've taken a bunch of Republicans out and removed their hosting and made their life hell. So you should move your website now. Don't wait till they do it to you. Do it now and teach a lesson to those companies. If we all do it now, we all make that switch, it will have a sizable effect. Now, outside of that, we have to address the elephant in the room. The reason we have this problem right now still with big tech is because rhinos didn't listen to us, okay? They didn't listen, and a lot of them, in many cases, they took tons of money in donations from big tech companies. And so that's something that we have to change. We have to change that. We have to make sure that we're exerting our power as voters. When we make donations, look at the donations they're taking from corporations and make good decisions. put your money into candidates that are not going to do that. Okay. I can tell you right now, in my run for Congress, I'm not taking money from big tech companies, period. I will not take money from any of them. I don't want their money because their money's tied with an expectation that you will behave a certain way for them. And I'm not taking money under those conditions from anybody. If somebody wants to be supportive of my campaign, once we do start taking donations, it's going to be because they support that I'm going to do what I think is right and that I am going to stand by my values and by the values that you're voting for. And I will go to the mat for them. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what lobbyist or what group comes after and says, hey, we want you to do this. I don't care. I want a just country that is fair and free for everyone. Okay. And I don't think that that's very complicated, so that's why we're telling you got to take action yourself, because the legislatures and Congress, they're very likely not going to do anything. My great hope at this point is that state AGs are going to just go rabid over the antitrust aspect of this, because they should. And so I know myself and many other people behind the scenes in Landon, we're putting as much pressure as we can on state AGs, asking them to please look at the antitrust side of this and make sure that they don't leave it in the hands of the federal government. Right. It's our job to protect our citizens in our states, and we need to go after it, and we need to make sure that they're held accountable and that the citizens of each state are taken care of and that they're given the right to be able to communicate in the public square, because that is what social media has become. It's become the public square. Mm-hmm. And the social media sites from the very beginning, Jack operated under very, very, very clear terms where he said that he was not going to behave the way that he's behaved now, and he changed the way that he behaved.
Mm-hmm. He also lied under oath. So did Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, they both did.
This is the thing. We have all the evidence we need of, to use the law. It's the fact that the levers of power have not been exercised to use the law effectively to bring justice to people. And there's so much, elitism within, tech, where they can pay their way out of things. It's no big deal to them if they have to pay a fine for violating some kind of state law or something like that. Well, now it's interesting. Like, isn't it Uganda that is now essentially
they ban social media sites? It's amazing when Uganda
free than America now for free speech. And that really hit a nerve with Jack. I'll tell you what.
They were very
upset. And their hypocrisy was exposed. And again, it's really hard to attack a country, to strong arm them in some way. They really have to go about that by, the UN.
Yeah.
But
so here's the thing. I want to answer a question. First of all, somebody said, are you guys on other platforms? Yes, we are. We're also on Rumble. If you want to support alternative tech, go to rumble.com/Robbie Starbuck. We post the shows there each time because their live feature isn't ready yet. It will be ready soon. And then at that point, we will be absolutely streaming live to Rumble as well. Mm-hmm. We're also on YouTube. We're on Periscope. We're on Instagram. We're on all kinds of places. So basically, if you look and you search Robbie Starbuck, you'll find it. Mm-hmm. And then, somebody made the comment: free speech doesn't mean free of consequences. So there's something that is really amazing that's happened on the left. If you went back 15, 20 years ago and you asked Democrats about free speech and you asked them, what does free speech mean to you? They would say, obviously, you have the protection from government. But they would also say, we have a spirit of free speech that we celebrate. And that means that we think the world is a better place when we meet bad ideas with more ideas and better ideas. And that we have those conversations. Because when we don't have those conversations and you push people into the shadows, bad things happen. Democrats used to understand that because they used to be liberal. They're no longer liberal. They're illiberal now. They're very regressive, actually. They're not progressive. Okay. So they now believe the idea that any speech that is bad in their view needs to be completely silenced and thrown into the shadows. Mm-hmm. Historically, you can look back. That has never worked out, ever. It has never worked out. The healthiest societies always celebrated people being able to go at it with speech and be able to be totally fine with each other after. It wasn't, hey, you know what? I disagree with what John said at this university lecture. Let's get him fired. Go after his advertisers. Yeah, that's not the way it was. It was, let's have this conversation. We'll have it out. And then maybe you could even have drinks afterwards.
It's exactly what they claim to hate. No fascist USA. Remember them chanting that for 4 years now? They're literally fascists.
Yeah.
They're literally everything that they say they hate.
So
they don't even know what they believe because they're so poorly educated from the indoctrination centers that we've sent our children to.
So I don't want to hear the arguments about, it doesn't mean free from consequences. I know the law, and I'm not saying that the law is that you can have free speech anywhere and you have no consequences. I'm saying that we've had a spirit of free speech in this country that I believe in, and I believe that if you're an anarchist or you are a socialist or a communist, I believe you have the right to tell me and talk to me about your views, espouse your views, and I have the right to tell you mine, and that neither of us should be subject to losing our jobs over it. I think that should be a pretty fair, exchange of ideas.
Well, every action has a reaction. I mean, it's science. So, with that said, Americans have a choice, and there'll be a very, big upheaval happening on conservative, consumerism. We are going to be more conscious and more mindful of who we're funding. And it's going to hurt the people. That's why they're squirming so much. And they're not just going after influencers. They're going after people with any dissenting views. Again, this is historically the same as every other rise of fascist dictatorships, communist takeovers, the oppression of people every single time. If you were actually taught history, this is what you would know is, oh my gosh, this is happening in America. This is the destruction. This is on the path of destruction. You would be speaking out. So this is, this is why it's such a big deal. It isn't just about one company. It's about an economic takeover via technocracy, and we aren't protected. We are not protected. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't always try to preserve things by going after our legislators and all of that and trying to get our constitutional attorneys to buck up and do everything they can. But I am saying, don't expect it to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also to the point now.
We have to save ourselves.
It's also to the point now where, if we want to talk about a subject that we know they could possibly go after us for, or use a word that could be misconstrued, we now have to say, hey guys, you know what? We can't talk to you on this platform. We're going to need you guys to go with us and meet us over at Telegram or meet us over at this. Hold on. I'm going to read that question. But, so that's where we're at. I did want to touch a couple things. Somebody said, Scorpion731 said it's going to be a long 4 years, must start looking for next candidates soon. Absolutely. I think that's essential to hit the ground running and have all of our candidates on a legislature level, mayors, school boards, everybody start as early as possible in that process. So we have a head start everywhere. The next person, D. Shuri, so I don't have my D. Shuri P. I couldn't read it. I'm sorry.
Will you be running for office as a Republican?
Yes, I'll be running for office as a Republican.
I want to give while you're reading a couple comments, I want to give you guys some hope. The fact that these technocrats are clamping down so hard and so swiftly at this rate, to acquire power as quickly as they can muster it, and canceling people and shaming people and leading this movement against the individual who dares to speak against. They're going to call us the dissidents. So, we're dissidents now. The reason they're doing all this is because they're scared. They're scared little beta males. This is what is happening. If they weren't scared, they wouldn't be doing this. Again, if you're not a strong, secure man, woman, person, isn't bothered by the opinions of sheep, if they know their power and all that. Now, if their means of power is to use the sheep, then they're not that powerful and they are squirming. That's why they're doing all of this. That's why they suppress our streams. That's why we have negative views, if that's even possible, on our analytics on YouTube. They're going after us because they know how many of us there are. So they're trying to change this public perception by silencing, by people like us, by making examples out of, your friend, by canceling his AIG policy. They're trying to do these public spankings so that people will be too scared to speak out, too scared to watch, too scared to be associated. But you know what? There's so many of us. There's so many of us, and they will not be able to get rid of all of us. And when we go quiet is when they really need to worry that we are not going to be supporting their fascist policies, their fascist businesses, their fascist takeover, essentially, is what they're trying to do. And this might not come for you today. It might not come for you tomorrow or even in the next few months. But, there's that quote, I wish I would have it on hand, but, there's that quote that, they came for my neighbor and I said nothing. And then they came for me. And that's exactly what's going to happen, because these power hungry little tyrants are so insecure that they must destroy as a means of gaining power, and feel insecure in their power. There's no need to destroy small businesses. There's no need to control what other people are doing and silencing other people unless you truly fear what they have to say. Because if people listen to them, they'll call you out for your BS. They'll call you out for your hypocrisy. They'll call you out for lining the pockets of these dictators that are going to be running our government.
So Jan Dubes, who is commenting, I would just tell you that she said, how can we beat this when election fairness and integrity is dead? Democrats will never lose another election. I wrote a whole long thread on why this is. I understand why you think that, but you got to read this thread. If you look back on my Twitter page from yesterday, it's very clear. We have actually a lot going for us in 2022. For starters, we just did a census while Trump was president that we now go through the reapportionment of congressional seats. It's taking seats away from New York, California. We also have the state legislature majorities in every single state that Biden won. And since we have those legislatures, we're the ones who make election law. So just because they got fooled in the last election and allowed the mail stuff to happen does not mean that's going to be the case going forward, because ultimately these people all want to be elected again. And so they're going to, and I've heard this directly from legislators, and I've heard this directly from the ground in those states, they are going to work on election law. And they're going to close loopholes, and they were going to try to really fix that so that everybody understands there's fairness in the next election. Unfortunately, because of COVID really was sort of like was the nuclear bomb in our elections. Everything changed. We essentially had a brand new election system, and we planned it all in a couple months. And so that's something that just in theory, you have to be able to say, okay, so this happened. We're going back to how it was before. And that's what these legislatures now have to do, is do that. So I do believe we are going to have fairness in 2022. I don't think all is lost in that respect. And I also think, the Democrats' actions are going to bear that out. I see them going after influencers first on purpose as a means, like she said, of scaring people that follow those people, to make an example out of those influencers, so that they spread what happened to them, and then people are fearful of it happening to themselves, and they say, oh, how can I self-censor in my own life? And they're hopeful that that'll be enough. They also know they don't have enough consolidated power. Don't get me wrong, but they don't have enough consolidated power yet to be able to go further and to the point past that influencer thing, in my view, until after 2022. So they're hoping to gain that extra power they need in 2022, but they know that's an uphill battle. They know that, because they know the House is their real, that's the real problem. They're hopeful on the Senate side, and the Senate side is probably more favorable to them than to us. But on the House side, we are far more favorable in 2022 to take control than they are.
And until they have that type of power, they're going to sit back and capitalize on our apathy, our inaction, our silence, and also use their bots, use their algorithms to fragment our own people within our own movement by infiltrating chat rooms, by infiltrating Telegram, by making it harder for us and sending glitches, sending cyber attacks on people that are, curating information, on making our own independent content for you. So, we know this. We've been experiencing this for a while. So this is something that all people trying to do what we do and spread truth experience and can relate to. Now, this is what I want to say. We do not need to be scared of them. They are scared of us. That's why they're reacting this way. That's why they're trying to change the whole public narrative to make you believe that there aren't millions of you, millions, and they might be at their homes right now feeling exactly how we're feeling, like what exactly is the next step. Okay. I mean, if anything else, go read history books just to brief yourself on where exactly we are in this chain of events historically. Because that will be very, sobering reality to at least give us a reality check on where we are. All of their news networks, all of their, propaganda networks, it's going to become state-run fascist media. And again, we won't be able to speak here on these platforms anymore. So that's why, I'm just throwing in the towel. I don't care if they censor us. I don't care if they wipe us off. You guys are here today. You know where to find us. You know where to find truth. And we're still going to be there until the very end, so I'm not scared of them. I don't think you should be either, because that's exactly all they need to wrap this up is your fear, your complacency, your inaction.
Yeah. And, we're going to do everything we can to have a plan, have things everybody can do, action items people can do. But I think right now everybody's kind of still taking in everything and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a lot to process emotionally. It is a lot, because if you're like me, you're waking up every day being like, am I taking crazy pills? Like, what is this happening? Are people wanting to control other people to this extent? Have they lost their humanity? Have they lost their decency? We're screaming at children now for not wearing masks. We're targeting individual businesses and elderly. What is wrong with human beings, right? But we can't be disheartened. We can't stay in that space. We have to stay in this fight. Yeah. We have to stay aware of what's happening and start removing our enabling, our income, our financing of their destruction, our own destruction.
Yeah, diverse. You said you're talking about money. We need to diversify where our money is too. By the way, I think that's incredibly important, because we're already seeing some of these different companies and everything go after that. PayPal, Stripe, all these places going after people who are, they just deem they have wrongthink, and that's not where we should be in America. So I would diversify across multiple platforms and make sure that you're not tied to anyone too heavily.
And here's the other thing, so important. On a local level, gather, community, come in person, face to face, because something happens, a connection that we are designed to experience. And when we don't have that connection, we feel alone. We feel like we're failing, that we feel overwhelmed by this all. And that is what they want. Mm-hmm. But when you come together, when you host a group of like-minded patriots at your home, and you start talking about your feelings about these issues, what we can do, that is their greatest fear. And that is exactly what you do. If you do nothing else this week, please invite a small group, a large group, whatever you can, potluck, have them come to your home and share your experiences, because you'll be blown away at how on the same page other people are. And you'll go, wow, how would my perception be different if I had not done this? I would feel like, oh, there's less and less of us. It feels like a little, sand thing, the sand timer that just runs out. And there's people, we're just losing another one. We're losing another one, because they're manipulating our perceptions. It's the mere exposure effect. They know all of these psychological tools to make us feel like we're being deleted. Yeah. We're being unpersoned, shamed, deleted. And that's what they want. We cannot give them that. And when you have community with like-minded people, that this is such a farce. This is the genie behind the fake screen. This is an avatar. It's a lie designed to make you capitulate, be subservient, shut up, and do as you're told. That is what this is. This is all they need to finish their agenda. And we won't give that to them.
Yep. And to just, hammer home what she said, Jonah, she said that they're having a local gathering on Friday. Those local gatherings are so important for you guys. Talk about how your own community is affected. Awesome. Talk about how your local elections are going to go. Talk about maybe who's interested in running for something, and how you can be supportive of them, and how you guys can work together to make things happen. Just, even just being there to just be around other like-minded people is healthy. Because we're so polarized in America right now, where people feel like they have to look over their shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
And that's not a way to live life, by the way, I just want to give a shout out to everybody in California who's working on the recall.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hair gel Hitler. He needs to go.
Mussolini,
yeah.
That's so crazy. Like, I'm already noticing, the self-censorship with if there was like a ticker of all the things we're not going to be allowed to say a week from now, a month from now, this whole stream would be banned. Yeah. And, it's not even just about us, right? Because that's the whole thing, is like, well, it's just us, delete. But then it's the next people, delete. Are you just going to keep deleting human beings until the only human beings you're around? Yeah, until everybody, the only ones that are around you are the ones who think like you. Yeah. Well, it's slavery. That is the definition of slavery. If you are required to think, act, behave, vote, and live according to somebody else's power structure, you are a slave. You are not a sentient human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have anything else you want to say?
No, time for carpool.
All right.
Hope everybody has a great day.
No, but seriously, guys, focus on that local level and don't give up. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people are upset and they're disappointed, and then there's even some still who believe that Trump is going to pull something out. I hate to break it to you, he's not. This is it. We've got to focus on opposition now and focus on how we get back to sort of a sane place.
Nobody is going to save us. We need to
yeah,
save ourselves.
exactly.
We need to come together.
Exactly.
The sooner we realize that, the more power we have,
Yep.
truly. And joy is our strength, and coming together and also know, okay, we have a plan. This is what we're doing. And now we're going to celebrate and listen to music and eat food together and gather. Okay.
Yep.
That is what's going to keep our minds sane and our bodies healthy. You know, the human connection, the power of human connection, they've engineered us to think that it's dangerous and scary, and that's because they're the most scared of it. They're the most scared of it for a number of reasons, but for the most being that when we come together, we are powerful.
We've got to take a picture of this and send it to Gina.
Oh yeah,
we're trying. And then yeah, thanks guys. I hope everybody has a good day. We'll talk to you guys soon.
We love you guys.